from that side. But yeah, so yeah, it was about so far we've covered La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and Salah prayers and then zakat. And we said that La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah is what we are assessed on the Day of Judgment. The trueness of the faith, the practices of the faith are what the first thing that we are assessed on the Day of Judgment. This is the basic requirement. If there's a distortion in that belief, then we are in great danger. And the link to a good ending in life is always linked to the trueness of that belief. So if someone lived their whole life believing in the fact that he had a lucky charm that he wore on his left arm all day and night, and that charm brought him luck, and when it's not with him, with her, then it's going to be a bad day. There is a distortion in belief. There is a distortion in the belief system. Because the only one that can bring us benefit and the only one that can bring us harm is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He has two names for that, Ad-Dar wa Nafi', yes? So if I'm handing over that an inanimate object has some control or power over this, then this is some form of shirk, which means I'm sharing my reliance and worship. Well, not worship, but my reliance between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and between something else. And that is called minor shirk. So it is something that where you are associating between Him subhanahu wa ta'ala and something else. By the way, the people of Quraysh, the people that the Prophet Muhammad was sent to, were believers of God. They weren't atheists. They were believers of God. They were true believers of God. They only worshipped their idols to bring them closer to God. And that's why in the Quran, Allah describes them as al-mushrikeen. Al-mushrikeen means you're associating something else with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So and maybe that's what we cover in the lessons after we cover Islam, the pillars of Islam. We start understanding what true faith looks like, knowing more about what we believe in our Creator. Allah has 99 names, and 99 names are there to reflect our beliefs in Him. So His character, yes, Al-Wakil. Al-Wakil means someone that we should be relying on, yes. Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahman, Al-Jawad, Al-Kareem, yes. The importance of the faith, and if you spent a whole life trying to ensure that your faith is pure and well aligned to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted it to be, it is a life well spent. There are lots of practices that we do these days and lots of things that we do these days that count as some form of associating worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with something else. And we said in the past that even hypocrisy is something that is so. If I'm dedicating an action to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like I'm praying and I am in a mosque and someone that important to me sees me, and then instead of the rest of the prayer, instead of it being to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's for Allah and for the person that's watching me, and I lengthen a little bit just to show, that's not the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only accepts 100% of the action, does not accept 99.9%. Yes, so if I'm doing it for my sake, if I'm doing it for my sake, then it's not for Allah anymore. And nothing of that action will reach Him. So that was the first pillar, yes? And then the second pillar is the moment the belief is in the heart, there should be actions to follow it. So how do I ensure that I always stay aligned on that path? How do I always stay on the righteous path? We know that we are weak. We know that there's lots of things that affect us as human beings. So how do I keep fixing myself? That is what Salah is for. Yes, Salah is for that. Is to ensure that after the belief is there, how to preserve the belief is not in our hands. It's not in our hands. It's in the hands of our Creator, Subhanahu wa Taala. And that's what Salah is. So exposing ourselves to the Creator to fix our soul in a way that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in the Quran, when they asked the companions of the Prophet, asked him about anything, the answer would come in the Quran except when it came to the soul. Except when it came to the soul. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلْ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. They ask you about the soul. State, Ya Muhammad, that the soul is from Allah, and humanity have yet been given very little of knowledge. So, ruh, the soul, is specifically, is not something that can be fixed except by its creator. So, and we said that the opposite of leaving prayers, abandoning prayers, is following desires, which means the heart no longer can withstand and withhold the faith it has in its heart. And the two forces pulling you towards desires, as shaitan and our souls, are unopposed. And then we said, this is how to fix ourselves, how to fix our communities. So we are not individuals. We are not individuals that live on our own. We have been created. And the word insane comes from uns, from company, desire of company. Yes. So our desire of company means that we were created to live in communities. So how to fix the community? If money is not shared, if value is not shared amongst people, the circle will narrow and narrow and narrow until only attaining 1% or 0.5% of the whole community that has the value in its hand and not shared amongst the rest. The fact that there will be people that are rich and poor is by design of the human experience. It is not something that is avoidable. But what is avoidable is sharing value amongst them all, so that the poor is not severely poor anymore. The poor has got enough food to cover them for a whole year. So if you have food to cover you for a whole year, what else do you have to worry about? Yes, you have a place to live in, and you have food and for yourself and your family for a whole year. So the lack of sharing of resource amongst people is what causes all damage. If you look at revolutions over time, revolutions came because of to break the cycle of control of resource, of value amongst the small group, for it to be shared amongst the wider group. And that's what zakat does. Zakat saying, please try and be as rich as you can. There's nothing against that whatsoever in Islam. However, avoid two things. Number one, overly excessively spending. Israf, yes? And at the same time, avoid clamping on that wealth and avoiding sending it to the people that deserve it. And if we think about it, our whole life is borrowed time. Our whole life is borrowed time. So do we really own anything at the end of the day? What we have now is what our previous ancestors had, and they handed it over to us. And what the generations after us will have is what we have in our hands now. So we have what we have on rent. It's not truly ours in reality. And if you think about possession in life, you own a piece of land. You believe you own it. The pet you have at home believes it owns it and owns you with it. Yes. The beetle in the garden believes that this is its territory and it protects it. And then the birds in the bushes, they are quite territorial and believe this is their territory. So it's not really one person's true possession from that side. However, what Allah has given us from wealth, from value, cannot be completely controlled in our hands. No. 2.5% of it for what has stayed stable income in the banks, preserved as gold or silver in our houses for a year, and we haven't touched it, means it's excess. And if it's excess, then the poor are deserving of it. Not only the poor, the people that have been stranded in cities and towns that they don't belong in, people that work on zakat, etc., etc. The exactly eight places where zakat is to be spent. But what we see in our Islamic countries now, or Arab countries, is the amount of poor growing and growing and growing, because the rich are withholding and preventing zakat, and because of that, if you for every 10 or 20 poor people or families, there is one rich person that withheld their zakat, and that's why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran described the people deserving to inherit the earth, to inherit the land it described them as الَّذِينَ إِن مَكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, those that if we give them dominance over the land, what would they do? قَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, they raise the value of prayers and ensure that zakat is functioning. Yes? So that ensures them as individuals to be stable and fixed, and that the community as a whole is well managed. Yes? Otherwise, what we see these days is that there is anger and envy between social ranks, and for a right reason. It's not for a wrong reason. It's for a right reason, because it's human nature. Why is it that someone can control all this money and I can't? I don't have enough money to pay rent for this month. It's not a matter of anger over it. Is the fact that, well, if someone's in debt, if someone's tried everything they can and they're still over £30,000 in debt, or whatever the number is, zakat is there to pay for that. Is there to pay for that. This means that as if I'm poor, I'm looking at the rich person and say, I hope he makes more money this year. I hope he is more and more richer than, may Allah give him more, because I know that more that he's going to make is going to hand over to me. Suddenly, it's not envy. It's not envy at all. We accept as humanity that Allah's created us above each other, yes, in layers, and above each other in that each one of us is in need for others. Yes, if you're the richest person in the world and you need a plumber in your house, yes, then the plumber is even more valuable than you are at that moment, etc. So we have salah and zakah, and they're always associated together. Now we have today the fourth pillar, which is siyam. And siyam means withholding. Someone that withheld something, either it's food or etc., etc. And siyam Ramadan, yes, the fasting of Ramadan. this is a pillar that is not compulsory for all. This is not a pillar that is compulsory for all, because there will be people that are ill. There will be people that will be traveling. There will be ladies that have given birth or pregnant, etc. So, yes, they will try to have to compensate those days later on, but there are people that are continuously ill, chronic illness, diabetics, etc. So, this is a pillar that is one of those pillars that, just like zakat, just like a Hajj, there will be variation in practice. Some people will do them, some people not, but the majority of people will. So, why is Ramadan? What is the value of Ramadan? What is so important about Ramadan that people await from year to year? Why is it so important that people feel excited that Ramadan is coming and sad that Ramadan is leaving? It's not related to the amount of food consumed in the month, but Ramadan was dictated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as decided as the month that the Quran was sent to us. Was the Quran sent to us in one book, or was it sent over 23 years? Sent over 23 years in a series of revelations. So why was it sent? Why would it say شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن? So why is it that Ramadan is the month that the Quran was sent to us in? You're allowed to speak if you. So, for the people that were with me last year, and memory has affected their answer, we said that Allah in the Quran says, وَبِالْحَقِّ أَنزَلْنَاهُ وَبِالْحَقِّ نَزَلْ. So, the Quran has followed two stages. The first stage is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sending it from the Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz, where the preserved book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, down to the As-Sama' al-Dunya, to the last heaven, which is ours. Yes? In one block. Yes? So, the Quran was there before the creation of humanity. Yes? So, with Adam alayhi salam coming, the Quran, yes, was decided that this will be the final book, and it is preserved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sent to the lower heaven where we are. Yes. And then gradually sent by Jibreel alayhi salam, the angel Jibreel, to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Quran was sent down in Ramadan and to Ramadan, in Ramadan, yes. And then after that revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as events went on. Yes. And even the non-believers or the mushrikeen would challenge the Prophet ﷺ, why did he not have it all at once, like the Book of Moses? The Book of Moses was 40 days, after which he came back with the book, the book of the commandments. And Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ, كَذَلِكَ لِنُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. Allah said, I did not reveal it all at once. Number one. Two, anchor your heart and give it more strength. Because the events, the Quran came supporting and aligning with the events that would happen in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Anyway, so شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. So this is the importance of the month. This is the month where the Quran was sent. Yes. And then after that, it was gradually revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Perfect. Okay, so what is the value of Ramadan to us that is not available for the rest of the year? What is it that's so important for us as Muslims or as humanity that is not available for us for the end of the year, for the rest of the year? I can see people discussing amongst them. Anyone would like to share, maybe?
Is it the month of forgiveness, Motaz?
Okay, yes, it is. It is the month of forgiveness. You're not wrong. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts by stating this. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu. Ya ayyuha is a word of kindness and respect to the believers. Yes? Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu. Yes? Kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. Siyam has been written upon you. And by the way, the word kutiba, for the people that learned a bit of Arabic with me last year, and it's all gone and evaporating now. Yes, kutiba is a passive tense of written. It has been written upon you. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that's written it upon us. Why is it to the passive tense? Because it is part of the contract between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The moment we believed in Him is the moment that has now become a shared contract between us both. Between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, as part of this contract has been fasting. Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Siyam is abstinence, abstaining from something. Yes? كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم. As it has been dictated on the ones before you, which means other prophets were given other ways of fasting. Yes? Why? Why has this been given to us? لعلكم, so that you may what? لعلكم تتقون, so that you may be more pious. What's piety? Piety is protecting ourselves from the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is so the aim of Ramadan as a whole is to learn to protect ourselves from the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what's different in Ramadan that's not there for the rest of the year? Two things. Number one, we said there are two opposing factors. Number one, ourselves, and number two is shaitan. Yes? The devil or shaitan is chained for that month. So, when you say that, well, you're blaming the shaitan for the whole year, for the whole action, and shaitan, is barely responsible for half of those. Yes? But the pulling force is one of them is removed. So you start feeling serenity and calmness in Ramadan because of that, yes? And the second is that you are draining yourselves of the physical power to commit sins. So when you're fasting, to commit a sin or to commit something wrong, you need the strength to do that. You need the strength to do that. But in Ramadan, people say, well, I'll campaign after Ramadan, or I'll swear at you after Ramadan. After it's done, I'm too drained. I don't have the energy anymore. So the lack of so it's two things: draining our soul from its ability to perform that physicality to be able to perform the sins, and the second thing is removing the shaitan from the equation. So it's like the training course for the rest of the year. It's like filling the fueling your soul for the rest of the year. Without it, we'd be just falling and falling and falling and falling down and down. Ramadan is there as this protective bubble where you sit in and start charging that energy once more. And we said that the main source of all this damage is that we reach Ramadan with a heart that is covered in layers and layers and layers of sin. And I remind you, for those that have listened to this and the ones that, and repeat it again or say it again for the ones that haven't, is that fixing our hearts in Ramadan is the main goal of Ramadan. And I'll tell you why. There is a hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that says, تعرض الفتن على القلب كعود الحصير عودا عودا. The tests are offered to the heart, like the straws that are weaved into a mat, one by one. Yes. So bad, evil gaze, or stealing, talking badly about people, etc. Whatever the situation offers, whatever the test that comes. Yes, the test might be money, extra value, etc. Yes, extra health, extra wealth. It's not always coming into a disadvantageous circumstance. So the tests come one after the other. Yes. What happens? Once your heart either does one or two things. Either it accepts it or it denies it. If it accepts it, yes, then the test leaves one black dot in it. Yes. How many tests do we pass by in a day? Did you hear about this lady, about her bag? Yes, and her shoes. Did you see about her appearance? Oh, yes, she's not really. Yes. نكتت فيه نكتة سوداء. There's one dot, yes. And whatever heart avoids this, and yes, then a white dot is put in the heart. So what's the outcome? The outcome either be, yes, حتى يصبح القلب, one or two things. أسود مربادا, that's blackened heart, yes, with a little bit of white dots, yes. لا يعرف معروفا ولا ينكر منكرا. Neither can the heart realize what is right nor what is wrong anymore. Yes? كالكوز مجخية, just like a tilted vase. Nothing good can enter, and what good in the heart is leaking outside. This is how I reach Ramadan. This is what I feel when I reach Ramadan. This heart is broken. Yes? This heart is covered in layers and layers of black dots here, black dot there, yes? Or if the heart, if that's not the only case, or if the heart rejects all those tests, what's it come? It becomes what? يصبح أبيض مثل الصفا. See, we have Safa in the class. Yeah, Safa, yes? لا تضره فتنة ما دامت السماوات والأرض. So, completely white heart, yes? Nothing, no further test will ever damage it, because it is white like marble, yes? Nothing else can ever touch it, yes? So, we come to Ramadan, and we come to Ramadan with that intention. Allah, we are now going to fast, we abstain from drink and water for these hours. Allow our soul to focus more, yes? Drain it from the ability to commit sins, yes? Either before or after iftar. After iftar, everyone's body is in shock with all what it's been fed, yes? And at the same time, the shaitan is out of the way. But then people ask me, well, but in Ramadan I still have bad thoughts and evil things, and what's that about? I said, yeah, welcome to the monster, yourself. The monster that you've been blaming the shaitan on this whole time, that's not the shaitan, it's ourselves. It's ourselves. But because we have never, the hardest action in Ramadan is learning to tame that soul inside your chest, between your ribs. Learning to tame that soul. If you don't tame it, it will control you. Either one rides the other. There's no way other way. One rides the other. Either your soul rides you and drags you towards whatever it wants, and the soul's like a little baby. It never ever stops screaming and crying for wanting more, no matter how much you feed it. Or you learn to tame it. And how to tame it? We said 1, by abstaining from food and drink. 2, Anyone know what 2 is? And 2 is extremely important for Ramadan. You cannot survive after Ramadan without it. You cannot survive after Ramadan without it. And the answer comes 3 verses down in Surah Al-Baqarah that describes الصيام. So كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أيام معدودات. Yes, there are a few days. So then we'll come to the description of the Siyam. Yes. So what is it? وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب. Now let's take this ayah because it's one of the most important ayah in the Quran. Whenever people would ask the Prophet ﷺ about something, Allah would tell him, قل, say, yes, ويسألونك عن الأهلة قل هي مواقيت للناس والحج, yes, ويسألونك ماذا ينفقون قل العفو, yes, they ask you what should they spend from sadaqah, say what is al-af, which is what is above what you require for your daily lives, or what surplus you have from finances, etc. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always made the Prophet, the Messenger, the conduit of what he should say. Yes. So Allah answers on the tongue of the Prophet in the Quran. So a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and told him, asked him, is Allah close? So we whisper. Or is Allah far away? So we shout. Yes. The man is thinking from his basic understanding, not understanding that Allah is not bound by space or time. So the answer came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the answer came for the first time ever, removing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the conduit, removing him. Allah did not want even the Prophet to be in the way between Allah and His servants. Allah said, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي, if my servants ask about me, I am close. Yes? Immensely close. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. So, what does that mean? It means that Ramadan is the month of dua, supplication. The companions of the Prophet, there is no way that you can survive through Ramadan and survive after Ramadan without dua. Without dua, you can't. It's not possible. Without supplication, the companions would say that they would save to Ramadan requests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they'd keep repeating the whole month. They said we would not finish the year until all those quests would be answered. Yes? So Ramadan is the month of Siyam, but also the month of dua. And for those that have not practiced this before, Ramadan is inshallah is coming in a few months' time. Practice this yourselves. Yes, whomever will be waiting in whatever request you have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wait for Ramadan for them. Gather now your requests. Write them in a piece of paper even, and say, those are what I'm going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on iftar in Ramadan, in qiyam in Ramadan. But I will ask them, and this is from personal experience. There's not one year I have made these du'awat except the year after they were all answered. It's not an experiment. We don't try it. It's not a trial and error with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's absolute faith. Yes? So, what is Siyam then? I think we'll go into the practicalities of that to conclude our lesson today, inshallah. So, withholding, abstaining from drink and water, and intercourse for the whole period of fasting. So from sunrise, before sunrise, to sunset. Yes. كلوا واشربوا حتى يتبين الخيط الأبيض من الخيط الأسود من الفجر. Yes. So eat and drink until you can differentiate black and white threads of dawn, which means dawn time. Yes. And ثم أتموا الصيام, and then complete fasting to evening time. ثم أتموا الصيام إلى الليل. Yes. Fine. So this is the ask of Ramadan. How many days in the month? It is a lunar month, so it's either going to be 29 or 30 days from that side. How do we know Ramadan started? We know Ramadan started by observing the crescent. Yes, so the start of the month is the crescent, and there's always a big fuss about this in the Arab world and the Islamic world about whose countries started what, even though they all share the same night, but still. Anyway, so who should fast? Whom should fast? So if you're healthy, yes, and have no chronic diseases that can be disadvantaged by fasting, you should fast. Compulsory, yes. You're not allowed, smoking is not permitted while fasting. From that side, and then finish until Maghrib time, yes, until sunset. If you have, for ladies, that if they are during the time of the month, or or they're pregnant, or they're nursing their children, then they can postpone it until after from that side. So they don't need to. If someone's ill and continuous illness, so the idea is that if I'm ill and I have a cold, so I don't fast those days, but I compensate those fasting days another time of the year before next Ramadan. But what if I'm ill all the time? I have a disease that prevents me from fasting. Then you need to pay kafara. Kafara is something to compensate for the lack of ability to fast, which is what? Anyone know what kafara is? So it's feeding 10 people from the average of what you would have in your home. Yes. So for the whole month, each day, yes, that's what you have to pay. Yes. Fine. Travel. If you're traveling, you have the option of you have the license to fast and the license to break your fast as well. Yes. So, and I'm not going to go into the science of traveling and how long traveling is, and 83.4 kilometers or 82.4 kilometers and all that, but فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر. So the idea is here is not to completely to anything that brings damage to yourself is not allowed. Anything that brings damage to yourself in Islam is not allowed. So if you know that fasting will bring damage to your body, then not only do you not get rewarded for fasting, you probably get the opposite of that, because you are opposing a direct order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He told you that من كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر, those that are ill, yes, then they should not be fasting. Those that are traveling, they should not be fasting, yes. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so gentle with us, يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. Allah wants with you the most easiest of things and does not want you to face any hardship. Yes? Great. So, what else? That's the physical side of things. You can't. How can you be fasting and shouting and swearing at people? How can you be fasting and talking badly about people behind their back? How can you be fasting and watching things on the TV that are not suitable? Yes. So, al-siyam is a physical and spiritual exercise. It is not only a physical exercise. Yes. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that رب صائم. There might be someone that's fasting, yes, that has all what he receives from fasting is being thirsty and hungry. That's all that we're. Why? Because they are not observing their fasting in the way they should. Yes, this is the month where the interference of the shaitan has been removed. The interference of the nafs, the soul, has been removed to a great extent by fasting. So whatever worship you do should resonate with your heart much more than for the rest of the year. It should resonate. Why are you leaving it and talking, gathering your friends and talking about that lady that you all don't like? Or that's not Ramadan. Okay, fine. Now, those are the. So, can you brush your teeth when you're fasting? Yes, you can. Can you get injections? Yes, if they are not for support, not for nutritional support. If you vomit, then you should break fast for that day and not continue fasting for that day. Can you swallow your own saliva while you're fasting? Yes, you can. It does not break your fasting. There's a whole list of things that we can go before Ramadan that everyone asks every Ramadan about. What should we do from that side? Yes. Okay. But you cannot be in the Shahr of Ramadan and not read the Quran. How can you be in the Shahr of Ramadan and not read the Quran? شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. The whole aim of Ramadan is to celebrate the Quran that was sent to us. How is it that we in the Shahr of Ramadan say, have you read Quran? Not really, no. Yes, so it is sunnah to read the Quran throughout the year, but in Ramadan specifically, read it more. Read it to understand it. Read it so it touches your heart. And understand that the person that struggles with the Quran, reading it, has two rewards compared to the person that knows how to read it well. The person that struggles with it has two rewards. One reward of struggling with the Quran while reading it, and the other one of reading the Quran. So if you struggle with it, know that your reward is doubled. Fourth thing in Ramadan is that any sunnah you perform, it is equivalent to faridatun fima siwaha. So any sunnah that you perform, it's equivalent to a compulsory prayers in other times. Yes. Fifth thing in Ramadan is Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr is the companions of the Prophet ﷺ said that the people before us, their ages were long. Nuh alayhi salam lived more than advised his people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for more than 950 years. So our lives are short. Our lives are short. How can we keep up with those people? Yes. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the night of destiny, Laylatul Qadr, and gave us that night in Ramadan at the peak of our worship. So we spent the whole month, yes, feeling the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the first 10 days. Then receiving, inshallah, the forgiveness of Allah in the middle of 10 days. Then we come to the peak of the month, the last 10 days. So by then, hopefully, our hearts are more receptive. Yes, the damaged hearts are now are better. They're healing. Yes, our dua has been accepted for forgiveness and for mercy. Now we're coming to the last 10 days. This is the moment when we are then deserving to be completely freed from the risk of Jannah. And for our worship to equate to how many years? So worship at the night of destiny, or the Laylatul Qadr, is equating to how many years of worship? Better than how many years of worship? How many months of worship? Revise Surah Al-Qadr. إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ. Anyone know the surah? Yeah. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. The night of destiny is better in worship than 1,000 months. 1,000 months is how many years? Around 82 years. 82.5 years. Yes? So one night of worship is equivalent to 82.5 months or years of worship. Not doing anything else. 82 years, like you lived your whole life, 82.5 years, just doing nothing but just worship. Yes? Who comes that night? Who attends that night? Jibreel alayhi salam. Archangel Jibreel that had sent the Quran to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes to earth to see what are people doing with the Quran. He was entrusted with the message, just like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was entrusted with a message to us. Jibreel alayhi salam was entrusted with a message down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he comes to see what has come of the Quran. What has come, and how do people are still people reading it? Do they still follow what's in it? Are they still touched by reading it? So this is the month. This is the day that the culmination of the whole month comes to that day. So what's the reward? So we know that the reward of prayers is this number of hasanan, this number of, but no one told us what the reward of Ramadan is. So why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't told us what the reward is of Ramadan? The hadith of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the saying of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Kull amal ibn Adam lah." All actions of humanity is for them. Meaning what? Meaning that every other action you can show to others. How is that? You can tell people that you can show people you're praying. You can show people that you're performing zakat. You can show people that you're performing Hajj. Yes. How can you show people that you're fasting? This is what the value of Ramadan is. Sincerity. True sincerity. Yes. You're sitting in a room, no one else is with you there to know whether you're fasting or not, except you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the worship that truly reflects sincerity. If you are doing it, and revise your intention every year when you're doing this. And Allah and the hadith said, "Kull ibn Adam, amal ibn Adam lah." All actions of humanity are for him. They can be seen by others, except illa as-sawm. فإنه لي. It is purely for me. Yes. وأنا أجزي به. And I'm the one that decides what reward is given for it. So Sawm Ramadan is a very high value. A very high value. Yes. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, one of his companions had died as a martyr. Yes. And another of his companions died the year after. And one of the third companions saw that he's in a higher rank in Jannah. He said, "But that guy died a martyr." He said, "Yes, but Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, yes, but didn't that other guy attend Ramadan, an extra Ramadan?" See the value of it? See the value of Ramadan? The value of Ramadan? Yes. إذا جاء Ramadan, when Ramadan comes, the doors of Jahannam are closed, and the doors of Jannah are opened. Yes, this is the month where the Jannah becomes more beautiful than it is for the rest of the year. I don't know how possibly that can be, but it is. Yes. وَيُنَادِي مُنَادِي, and someone calls saying, يَا بَاغِيَ الْخَيْرِ أَقْبِلْ. Yes, seekers of goodness, seekers of good actions, come, run. Yes. وَيَا بَاغِيَ الشَّرِّ أَقْصِرْ. Yes, those that are intending to do bad deeds, stop, halt. Yes, don't. This is the month of Ramadan, And Ramadan, inshallah, this year is in 4 months' time, or starting in 3 months' time, inshallah. Beginning of March. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we all reach the month of Ramadan and that He forgives us, inshallah, in that month. So this is the fourth pillar of Islam. There's only one pillar left, which is Hajj, pilgrimage. And for people that are watching me now and people that are going to watch me in the video, please let me know what you want us to cover after this. Is it knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What is it? Is it true faith? Is it knowing what true faith is? Is it understanding more about the characteristics that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has? Asma Allah al-Husna, the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it understanding more about the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is it hadith? Is it understanding Quran? Whatever it is, just let us know. Have a think about it. Let us know. Well, I think we'll come to the end of our sixth lesson. Jazakumullah khair for listening. Any other questions?